Tonight, the Secretary General at the Defense Ministry in charge of National Gendarmerie, Galax Eve Landry Etoga, is officially taking over the command baton at the time when the kidnapping of state agents is gaining grounds in the northwest and the southwest regions of the country. In the second part of this newscast, our guest, who is a legal mind and a common law lawyer, is going to be taking a look at the rising phenomenon in the two Anglophone regions of the country. What is going to be his interpretation? We shall tell you more in this edition of the news. Also ahead, we tell you about the Limbe Festival of Arts and Culture that opened last weekend in the southwest region of the country in the midst of heavy military deployment. David Simaimo shall be telling us more on that. Those are headlines. Stay with us. We shall be right back. Good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you back from the weekend. You are watching the primetime newscast on Equinoxe television. The Anglophone crisis has entered a different phase. The kidnapping of state agents as well as local authorities in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. The most recent is the Vice President of the Southwest Court of Appeal. He was picked up, that was last Sunday, in the southwest region of the country, and it has so far been kidnapped by Barrister Felix Agbobala. The kidnappers are still to claim responsibility for the incident. Let's have the details in the following report. It is more than 48 hours after the former president of the Southwest Court of Appeal was picked up in his village in Ewele, Manyu division of the Southwest region, during his mother's funeral, but his whereabouts or kidnappers are still unknown. On the night of Saturday breaking Sunday, heavily armed unidentified men stormed Ewele and took Justice Martin Ben Aku to an unknown destination. Confirmed sources say that negotiations to secure his release are on course. The president of the Center for Human Rights and Democracy for Africa, Barrister Agbo Felix Nkongo, in a statement few hours after his disappearance, said that an armed group was behind the kidnapping and should secure the release of Justice Martin Ben with immediate effect. The former president of the outlawed consortium of Anglophone civil society, who condemned the kidnapping, said that abducting for ransom or to score political concessions is no longer perceived as a lucrative business model. He urged all parties to seek constructive negotiations as solutions to the Anglophone crisis. The current socio-political unrest in the northwest and southwest regions entered a different phase on February 11th, when the duo for Batibo was kidnapped. The delegate for social affairs in the northwest region went missing 2 weeks after, and then the GCE board chair, chiefs of the northwest region, the duo for Wabane, and now the former vice president of the appeal court in the southwest region. All the captives hail from the English-speaking parts of Cameroon. Only 2 of them and the 3 chiefs captured in Widikum have so far been released. The Anglophone activists who were being blamed by the government of Cameroon are still to make an official statement to claim responsibility for the kidnappings. And Galax Eve Landry Etoga is now officially in control of the National Gendarmerie, said, as it is known in its French acronym in Cameroon. The Secretary of State at the Defense Ministry in charge of National Gendarmerie was commissioned this Monday by the Defense Minister Joseph Betiasoma. We see how he took over the flag from the outgoing Jean-Baptiste Bocam, and during the ceremony that was chaired by the Minister of Defense Joseph Betiasoma, he was told to exercise his duty with rigor, vigor and objectivity. As I said earlier, he's been commissioned into his function at the time when the 2 English-speaking regions of the country is still in tension and chaos. And just to note as well that here in the economic capital Douala, the Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Atanganji, began his visit. That was this afternoon. That is the 4th region that he is visiting so far since his commissioning into his function a few weeks ago in the nation's capital Yaoundé. He has been to the northwest region, southwest, the west, now the littoral region of the country. We, of course, will be telling you more on that in our subsequent newscast. Now, the Minister of Arts and Culture has described the Limbe Festival of Arts and Culture as a unifying factor. He was speaking during the opening of the 5th edition, as Davis Imaimo tells us in the following report.
Member Porten Warrior West Region, Guangle, Oshenga, Repokale, Joya, Tempo, Ubachetawa, Gambetema, Oshen Berisha, Mokale, Joy.
It is not Spanish nor Portuguese, but one of the several languages spoken in Cameroon, the Bamileke language, as he expressed satisfaction in showcasing his culture. Reason why the government delegate to Limbe City Council, Mutanga Andrew Monjimba, paint Limbe as that focal point of Cameroon culture.
You can therefore see why we are at ease when we are at ease with the notion of multiculturalism, because we do not only live it, but we have gone ahead to celebrate it.
The carnival displayed witnessed the presence of the 4 cultural zones of Cameroon, not leaving out that of neighboring countries such as Nigeria, Benin and Togo. This undoubtedly gives the Minister of Art and Culture every reason to describe the event as a celebration party where peace, love and happiness is everything.
The Limbe Festa is sending a message of peace, a message of unity and national integration, and it is a celebration of living together in this very beautiful land, in this very beautiful city.
The 2018 Limbe Festival of Art and Culture, Limbe Festa, which coincides with the celebration of 160th anniversary of Limbe since it was discovered, will run for 7 days and shall also have a marathon, canoe race, traditional wrestling and many more.
And we stay with you, Davis Imaimo in Limbe, to add that for the first time, security was one of the most important aspects at Festac. Limbe, armed men in uniform and military vehicles could be spotted in and around the ceremonial ground.
It is the first time in 5 years running that the Limbe Festival of Art and Culture is witnessing such heavy deployment of security, an indication that the social unrest within the 2 Anglophone regions in the country is real. The presence of the riot police with their water cannon, heavily armed gendarmerie officers, the military and police all stationed at the festival ground speaks for itself.
To solve these problems without the boat capsizing and inflicting far negative consequences on our peace and stability and the fabric of the nation is what is very important. That is why I want to once more thank the people of Limbe for not falling prey to merchants of illusion.
A part of the heavy deployment of security forces, the style of protecting the minister as he visits the stands has never been the case in the previous edition. This is another glaring signal that security forces are not taking anything for granted.
You cannot promote culture without peace.
However, as the people of Limbe will say, and I quote, Limbe the kene for dry season, end of quote. The people of Limbe now have a new culture, that of not talking to the press on subjects concerning the ongoing Anglophone crisis, so as not to be tagged as blacklegs.
And the filthy nature of the Mbanga market, who are in the Mongo division of the littoral region of Cameroon, is a daily preoccupation to the traders who are complaining that council agents are collecting taxes on daily basis. A reporter, Emeresia Conduct, tells us more in the following report.
At the Mbanga main market, Mungo division, traders sit in between garbage heaps to attend to customers. Other dealers in foodstuffs are displaying their goods on the ground, a situation which has been going on for several years now. Another challenge that traders in the market have to deal with daily is the absence of public toilets, which also makes it difficult for users of the National Road Number 5 to ease themselves. Today, there is no public toilet in the market. When you are pressed, you go behind the market and ease yourself. On daily basis, traders at the Mbanga main market are obliged to pay taxes to council agents. The funds, which are destined for the maintenance of hygiene and sanitation, have, according to the traders, never served the purpose for which they were intended. The council does not do their work properly. When it comes to foodstuffs, we are not supposed to sell them on the ground. Every trader is supposed to have a table of which he or she can sell on. They do not give us the space but collect 200 francs from us every day. The council does not do anything to take away these abandoned garbages around us, but every day they collect money from us for sanitary purposes. The hope of traders in this market is for council officials in Banga to provide an enabling environment for business activities and construct the uncompleted buildings which have now become stable market sheds.
And onto this sad story, at least 6 people have died, including a pregnant woman and 2 young girls after a boat capsized early this morning in Bambalango, Kutunja division of the northwest region of Cameroon. It took several hours for 5 bodies to be retrieved, and it should be noted that one of the corpses were removed in the early hours of this morning. Shortly after the incident happened, only 1 person came out alive. We, of course, are closely following up developments. We will be keeping you updated as soon as we are informed. We now talk sports. The far north region of Cameroon that has emerged overall winners of the 2015 or 2018 rather edition of the FENASCO A Games for colleges and teachers training institutions. Marwa harvested a total of 50 medals. Bamenda is going to be hosting the 2019 edition, as Manjikan Gabriel tells us.
It was an overwhelmed regional delegates of secondary education for the Far North region that lifted the trophy for the overall best in the 2018 edition of the FENASCO A Games. The Far North region got a total of 50 medals, 21 gold, 12 silver and 17 bronze. Even with the difficult feeding condition, the athletes from the 10 regions of Cameroon competed honorably to get the best results. In the finals of the football boys, Cas Bambili from the Northwest region in sky blue sports outfit hammered their friends from the South region 4-3 during regular playtime to win the gold medal that saw the Northwest finishing 4th with a total of 16 medals, 8 gold, 2 silver and 6 bronze. The trophy that they will want to keep when they host the games in 2019, as it was announced by the Minister of Secondary Education, Dr. Nalova Pauline Lyonga.
The next FENASCO Games will take place in Bamenda.
As the flames of Ngaoundere went off on Sunday, the South region that came 10th with 12 medals is expected to improve on its performance. Littoral region finished 8th with 23 medals, 4 of them in gold.
And that brings us to the end of this first segment of the news. Up next is Talking Point. Stay with us. We shall be right back. I said earlier that our guest tonight is a common law lawyer and barrister at law. Good evening to you, Senior Barrister FRU Johnson. We thank you so much for joining us tonight on Talking Point.
Thank you, Mimi, for inviting me.
We should be thanking you for coming. A new language is in the current socio-political crisis in the northwest and southwest region is kidnapping. Since the start of 2018, that is precisely on the 11th of February, several cases have been reported. We started with Batibo. Now we are talking about the vice president of the Southwest, the former vice president of the Southwest Court of Appeal. How can you explain the series of happenings as far as kidnappings is concerned?
Thank you, Mimi, for that question. I don't think I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised because the government started by kidnapping leaders from Nigeria, and that radicalized the whole war. You know, for 56 years, no English-speaking citizen of this country has ever kidnapped anybody politically. For up to and including when the President of the Republic, Mr. Paul Biya, declared war on that part of the country at the airport in November, there had never been any kidnapping. Even after the killings of 22nd of September and 1st of October, nobody talked about kidnapping. Until when this government decided to go to Nigeria in flagrant violation of the law, international law, and kidnapped the leaders from Nigeria and brought them here for 3 months. They remain incommunicado. That is kidnapping.
Are you saying
and that opened the door. Let me finish. And that opened the door for those who are defending themselves to make sure that when the time comes for negotiation, they have a bargaining chip. Kidnapping is on both sides. I will give you just the recent one at Kendem in Manu Division. They shot, people were drinking, people were in a happy hour somewhere, and they shot and killed some and captured some and took them away. Now, what is that? Kidnapping. All I'm saying is that we are in a war situation, and the Geneva Convention must be respected by both sides. If you kidnap anybody, it doesn't matter the side, whether it's on the side of the government or on the side of the citizens of the Northwest and Southwest who are fighting. At the time of negotiation, you should make sure that everybody is alive and well. Prisoners of war, the convention spells out how you treat prisoners of war. I am hoping and praying that this government is treating the prisoners of war that they have just like those who are arresting these other people are treating them the same. So I would read it like that, because we're in a war situation. The Northwest, Southwest, from Victoria to Nkambe is at war. That's a war zone. And if you are a civil servant and you're just doing your work, you don't get involved in taking positions either way, nobody will come kidnapping you. But when you start being activists on one side and you don't take care, you don't bother, and you put yourself in a situation where you can be kidnapped, they kidnap you, that's your own doing.
So why the choice of the former vice president of the appeal court in the South?
From what I've read so far, before I came here, I read about, they say that he has been very adamant about the Anglophone cause. He has been one of those who doesn't even believe that is an Anglophone cause and think that Anglophones are dreaming. And he went to bury his mother, which is a normal thing. But knowing that you are in a highly volatile security zone, he should have left the place. They came for him at 2 a.m. That's what I read. They came at 2 a.m. And I cannot support anybody arresting a judge or anybody of the judiciary. But if you leave your job as a judiciary person and you start dabbling into issues that don't concern you, well, you make yourself a target. I am not saying that they were right to kidnap him, by no means. But I'm saying that you put yourself to act like an agent of the enemy side. Because we have two people fighting here. The government is fighting a part of the country.
No, we equally saw chiefs being picked up.
Yes.
Chiefs in Widekum. We see a majority of those that have been kidnapped.
Let me explain to you.
Regions of Cameroon.
Yes,
we saw the recent outing as well of Barrister Bobala that is indicating that the level of radicalization, that civilians should not be targeted. What do you have to say about that?
No, I don't think that civilians are targeted. I don't believe that civilians are targeted. They will not target you until they know that you are against them. That is the way. You are in a war situation. Anything can happen. Those chiefs you are talking about in the Widikum area, they are known for being informants of the government. They are known for being. That is what I read. I read all these things. I'm a political observer, so I follow the events very carefully. And they have since been released, if you want to know. But they took them because they were not. They didn't close their mouth. They didn't watch. They didn't even try to calm down their own people. They started radicalizing. The chieftaincy in this country has been meant to. You are a chief. You are forced to align yourself with government and get goodies and so on and so on. You automatically make yourself an enemy of the other side.
So neutrality is the watchword.
Yeah, neutrality. Like all of us, you have to be neutral. Don't take any position. As if you're a journalist or a lawyer like myself, don't take any position so that you don't get compromised either way. You see, the kidnapping is not only on one side. Government has been kidnapping, like in Com. Some boys have been taken. And they've taken and gone. Nobody knows where they go with them. Of course, to the prisons, that's kidnapping. The leaders of Nigeria were kidnapped. You radicalize the whole situation, and here, who is crying now? Let me propose once again a solution. The solution is for the government to call a ceasefire, unilateral ceasefire, and stand down. Release everybody that has been affected by this whole thing and get to the negotiating table. And let's end this madness. But only government can do it. If they don't want to do it, they should live with it.
Apart from the ceasefire, according to the outing of Barrister Bobala, he's indicating that dialogue is a possible way out of the situation. Do you see that dialogue possible at this point in time?
I don't like this word.
Do you think it's a possibility now?
I don't like this word dialogue. After every conflict, what you have is negotiation on the negotiating table. Nobody should decide either way. You get to the negotiation table, and that is where everything is decided. It's negotiations. Dialogue, that word to me doesn't really get into conflict. I've heard it, inclusive dialogue and so on, and the government is not budging. So what are we? Those who were invited by the American ambassador have been talking about dialogue all this while. The cardinal has been singing about dialogue. Everybody has been singing about dialogue. Where are we with that? The time has come for this government to declare a unilateral ceasefire, stand down, release everybody, and come to the negotiating table. Let's decide this thing once and for all, and bring about peace on both sides.
You have talked about the American embassy, the
Yes.
US ambassador
Yes.
to Cameroon that met with
Yes.
some actors of the civil society, Christian Cardinal Toomey, some clergymen, as well as some international local NGOs.
Exactly.
What do you think such a meeting can bring?
I think for the U.S. ambassador, I think it was a fact-finding meeting. But contrary to the one that took place in Bamenda with the French came with a position, with their own position. Maybe they have arrested that position with the government. They came with a position, a fixed position. The ambassador merely wanted to hear exactly
from all sides,
and to see how this matter can be resolved. But the French, they came ready with solutions, meaning that they have taken their own position and the position is aligned with that of the government. You don't do that in a conflict. You allow the conflict to cool down. There's a ceasefire, then the people come to the negotiating table before you start putting down whatever proposals you have. When once you start making proposals in the middle of a conflict, you have taken sides, and you have made yourself a party, a major party to the conflict.
And the international community, we have been seeing the international community calling for dialogue and playing an active role, so to say,
yes,
in the crisis.
Yes.
Do you think that the government is giving them a listening ear?
The government, up to now, it's like you're talking to a deaf person. It's not listening to anybody. I don't know whether tomorrow they will listen, but the international community too has been very, very, very quiet. So I don't know. The French and the Americans, I would give it to the Americans because they organize a fact-finding mission with the people that they invited. But the French took a position. In Bamenda, I followed it very carefully, right down to Bafut or to Mancon, where he went. I'm from Mancon, where the French ambassador went. He took a position and was making a proposal tying the Northwest to the Western province and tying the Southwest to Littoral province. That is dumb, because in a conflict, you don't make those kind of proposals when you know the root cause is from what you are saying. Wait until the negotiations are on the table, and you can bring your own proposal.
So now, Barrister is proposing ceasefire. On to something else now. We are going to be talking about some student lawyers.
Yes.
That have actually written a letter, a group of them, following the recent examinations that took place across the national territory into the bar exam.
Exactly.
Now, we have just about 474 candidates that came out successfully out of the close to 1,500 that wrote the
1,400.
1,400 rather.
Yes.
So what explains these poor results for the first time? Because many student lawyers are complaining.
Let me make this declaration. If you are a teacher and you teach children and you cannot have 30% success rate, you are no teacher. The bar has failed because you cannot put 1,400 candidates and only less than 30% succeed. And where I was trained, if you are teaching a course and people pass less than 60%, you the teacher, you are in trouble. Having said that, I think that there is something going on that none of us can really understand. I don't know there are rumors of corruption. I cannot say that because I don't have any proof. But all I'm saying is that something is going on, and you cannot treat young people this way. More than 900 and something young people have failed this exam. Where do you think they're going to go? And even next year, I'm not sure because they have 1 year to write. I'm not even sure all of them are going to succeed. You treat young people in this manner. You shouldn't have taken in that number, and even if you took that number, you should have made an extra effort to make sure that you have at least from 60 to 70% success rate. You go and have less than 30%.
When you listen to the former bâtonnier former bâtonnier barrister
Chungang,
rather.
No, Nyekamga. The former or the present?
The
former, okay.
He's indicating that they took competence into account. They equally took academic excellence into account. But the students are talking about corruption. What do you have to say about that?
Barrister Chungang should know that when he came up, they took the same criteria. But let's face it, when you were taking those children into stage, that was the same criteria: competence and academic excellence. What has changed? It means that you have not been able to train them the way that you were supposed to train them. That argument is neither here nor there. I am saying that something is cooking. I don't know what. Whether there's corruption or no corruption, I cannot say because I don't have any proof. But all I know is that less than 30% of the
student lawyers
succeeded in this exam, and it's a shame on the Cameroon bar.
hoping that the President of the Republic is going to look into the matter.
The President of the Republic cannot look, is not allowed to look into matters concerning the bar. He doesn't know who is qualified and who is not qualified. All I'm saying is that if in reality less than 30% succeeded, it means that the bar has failed young people woefully. But I don't believe that. I believe that something is cooking and we will get to know.
It's just a matter of time.
It's a matter of time.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight on Talking Point. We hope to have you some other time again, Barrister.
Thank you for inviting me.
Senior Barrister FRU John Saul there joining us in this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinoxe Television. Viewers, we thank you so much for joining us. Wishing you a blessed stay in the company of our programs. Until we meet again, goodbye.